What's up guys, it's Boop, like the sound effect, and today we're gonna rank every new release I watched in 2025. Now I think 2025 was one of the better years that we had in the film industry. To me, we just reached a flow state with creativity. We had such amazing original screenplays, we had such great adaptations of old stories that we may or may not have been familiar with. And I'm happy to say that of every new release I watched this year, there was only one that I would consider bad. This list is mainly horror because that's just what I gravitate to. I also like thrillers and action movies, but you'll see that my taste is mostly horror. I want to say that in total I watched 38 new releases this year. There have been a few that have released that just either I didn't find out about until the buzzer, or that came out towards the very tail end of the year that I just didn't have a chance to make it out to see. Number one being Marty Supreme. I would have loved to go out on Christmas and see it, but I just wasn't feeling well. But let's just get into what I did see and the one bad movie of the year, in my opinion. That would be Until Dawn. To me, Until Dawn was just Sony's excuse to make a horror time loop movie because God knows that was a thing that just consumed the genre over the last, I don't know, 3 or 4 years. You know, I wouldn't have a problem with the movie. I like the game. I like that it was embracing the campiness. But the movie, I didn't know whether to laugh with it or at it. Like, it seemed to take itself a little too seriously 90% of the time, and the 10% that was camp was amazing. The water part was one of my favorite scenes in any movie that came out this year, but the rest was just so bogged down. I think focusing more on the camp and incorporating more of the game's universe would have just paid dividends. It was just really a disappointing movie. I think Until Dawn, or really any supermassive game, could have been turned into an amazing movie. Until Dawn would have been at the top of the list, obviously, and then maybe The Quarry, but it just did not live up to any of the expectations I had set. And maybe that was my fault. Here's an interesting one. We have Ash, which, if you know anything about me, you know I love Aaron Paul, Breaking Bad, you know. So when you take Aaron Paul and you put him in a sci-fi cosmic body horror movie directed by Flying Lotus, whose music I also love, you'd think you'd have a recipe for success, at least in the recipe book that I'm writing. Unfortunately, the movie is not great. It's more of a spectacle than anything. The acting is wooden. The script isn't great. I don't really blame the actors at all for that. Outside of the visuals and the hyper stylization, nothing happens in this movie. It's tough to recommend. If you like visuals and cosmic horror, I guess, check it out, but only if you get it for free. I don't know where it's streaming free. I think I rented it. I do have hope for Flylo's vision moving forward, but Ash just did not do it for me, and easily was the most disappointing movie of the year. Moving on, we have Bone Lake, and this is a movie that peaks in its first scene, the nutshot kill. It's all downhill from that. It's not as horny as people wanted to make it out to be. This is a freaky movie for the missionary crowd. There's really no other way to describe it. So if you're looking for anything more than that, you'll just find a movie with a twist that's telegraphed as soon as you see the other couple that occupies the Airbnb. This is a movie that I will forget about after I make this video, and anyone who tries to sell it as a horny horror movie, they would recommend you 50 Shades of Grey to read, so I wouldn't trust that opinion. The juice is not worth the squeeze here, if that's what you're looking for. And the juice is bone dry. with any other concept that the movie tries to tackle, so I would just avoid it in general. It's an hour and a half of mediocrity, nothing more and nothing less. Now to the first non-horror movie on the list, and that's Minecraft. It was not as bad as people made it out to be. Like everyone else, I grew up playing Minecraft. I grew out of it. I've grown back into it. I've grown back out of it. And that cycle has repeated for about a decade now. My expectations were bedrock going into it, but I think we reached iron. Does that work? Is that a Minecraft reference that is clever in any way? I don't ever see myself going back to it and watching it again, but I'm glad that I did see it just for the pop culture moment, if nothing else. It was really cute. It got a couple laughs out of me, none of which came from Jack Black. I can't stand him. I wish he would go back to acting instead of playing Jack Black and everything. I guess that's just what we're getting now. What will really sell the praises I have for this movie is that I don't think it's even a bottom 10 video game movie adaptation of all time. That in and of itself is a lot more than most video game movies can say. Next up, we have a documentary made by a YouTuber. The channel is Evasive. I recommend her channel if you like lighthearted movie discussion and discourse. I think she does a really good job. This documentary is titled Sorry You Live Here, and it's about her and her two friends' cursed trip to Bonnaroo. It's just a very wholesome slice of life documentary of just a couple friends going on a journey together, and the journey not quite panning out as they expected, and just dealing with all the obstacles that come with that. Heart Eyes is up next, and I like the concept of this movie a lot. I think we need more holiday slashers outside of just Halloween and Christmas. I like Valentine's Day, and I would like that concept explored a little bit more. I think Heart Eyes was a step in the right direction. The kills are fun, the romance is cheap, but I liked it. I'm a sucker for that kind of thing. I really liked the slasher costume as well. It's pretty iconic, and I hope we see it again. The villains, though, they weren't really doing it for me. It felt like kind of a forced twist. The leads, though, I thought they did a pretty good job. This is one of the new slashers that I hope we get not necessarily a franchise out of to the extent of like Halloween or Scream or anything like that, but I'd like them to take a couple more cracks at it and kind of refine and build off of what they had here, because I think it could be special. It just hit my funny bone. Fight through the crying. I had a raw Denny's chicken wing today. I'm afraid that if I even crack my cheeks a little bit, I'm gonna shit myself. That's why I'm sitting down today. But Final Destination Bloodlines. This one, I liked the intro a lot. I thought it was one of the better intros to kind of set things up in the whole franchise. I'm not the biggest fan of Final Destination. 3 is very nostalgic for me, but other than that, I don't really care for any of them. This one, I would put it behind 3, but I did enjoy it for the most part. The CGI took me out of it more than a couple times, really. It's weird to say. I didn't like any of the characters, so it was kind of satisfying seeing them get picked off one by one. Obviously, the MRI scene was one of the most gruesome things I've ever seen as a person with piercings. It's a nightmare. I don't even like thinking about it, but it was great. I think about that shit like once a week. The funny thing about this movie is I felt the ending was supposed to elicit some sort of like but I did not care even a little bit. I thought it was super lame. I was not a fan of it. It was more bad CGI to end the movie. I was over it at that point, but it was a fun time. I would just watch the deaths on YouTube and save the extra hour you have after that and do something that you prefer. Maybe a hobby, maybe even nothing. I did like that Tony Todd was allowed to speak from the heart in his monologue. I thought he did a great job. and he will be missed. He's a legend. I don't think he gets his due when it comes to movies and the film industry as a whole. If I recall correctly, he was left out of the in memoriam section last year at the Oscars, I think. Just disrespectful, in my opinion. He was great in the latest Indiana Jones game as well. I recommend that if you play video games. Now for the better Final Destination movie, The Monkey. I didn't read the short story this is based on, but I assume it's pretty funny. This movie had a lot of funny moments, but it also had a lot of those tropes where it's like, oh, it's kid dialogue. That means we're gonna hear fuck and shit 20 times. That's a big problem with kids' dialogue in movies right now. It's so overwritten and unbelievable. This is more of a slapstick comedy, I would say, than it is a horror movie, at least in the traditional sense. It's nothing special, but not offensively bad either. The pool scene, I think, is worth it alone. That was what had me dying. The next movie is Locked, and this is similar to Ash. It has Anthony Hopkins and Bill Skarsgård in it, two of my favorite actors of all time. When you combine that with a single location movie, which is one of my favorite genres, or subgenres, I suppose, you would think it would turn out better for a person such as myself. It was a good idea, but kind of mid execution. I think it could have been done so much better. Towards the second half of the movie, it kind of went off the rails. No pun intended. I don't know. I think it could have been better written. I definitely don't think this is on Anthony Hopkins or Bill Skarsgård in the slightest. I just think it was an underwritten movie. Honestly, it kind of felt rushed in that regard. Predator Killer of Killers. This one I wasn't feeling when I first started it. The first little story it covers didn't grab me at all. I thought it was really, really slow. And about halfway through that, I turned it off and I went back to it in about a week. And I'm glad I did because after that first story, it picks up so much. And the ending was incredible. That last fight scene where everyone's working together, I loved that. This is a weird comparison, but it kind of reminded me of the Fallout 3 DLC, Mothership Zeta, where you're abducted by aliens and you unite with a couple different warriors across several time periods to escape your captors and get back to Earth. This kind of felt like that, but with Predator, and that's so badass. I loved that. That is my shit. This is definitely for kids who grew up on Fallout 3 and what was that show? Deadliest Warrior? Definitely for us. We're eaten with this one. Now we have Good Boy, which is an interesting case because do I think it's a good movie? No, it's really boring. It's well made. Uh, the script is pretty bad. The acting is the best actor is a dog. The concept is so interesting and executed to perfection that I think it deserves a spot this high up on the list. I can't believe this has never been done, but I imagine it's really hard and it was done amazingly. I'm excited to see how future directors build off of this because this was truly impressive. This might be controversial, but Friendship is next. It's played perfectly by Tim Robinson. Unfortunately, that's not a compliment in the way it sounds. I think his shtick is pretty funny, but when it gets to over like an hour of that shtick, it kind of wears thin, in my opinion. And I'm someone who loves awkward humor. People said that they had to turn this one off because of how awkward it was. That had to be marketing or something, because this was not to that level. It had a few jokes that'll stick with me. Like I said, after an hour, I was about done with it. The ending was pretty good though, so I'm glad I stuck it out. Up next is The Phoenician Scheme. Probably another unpopular opinion, but I'm not sure if Wes Anderson makes movies for me. This is the only one I've seen. There's no doubt he's a great director. It's just the writing, that like short, dry, punchy humor. I was not a fan of it. It was exhausting. I can't explain it, but I was just not feeling it. The acting was great. It it literally the only thing holding this movie back was the writing to me. Dare I say, Benicio del Toro and Mia Threppleton ate that shit up. Now we have one of them days, one of the best comedies of the year in my opinion. I think SZA did great in this movie, and I can't wait to see what she's in next. I think her acting career is very bright. It's just a fun buddy movie, very relatable comedy, and the hit rate of the jokes is very high. Drop is next, and growing up in the era I did, my mom had Lifetime on all the time, and I love those shitty Lifetime thrillers, and that is what Drop felt like. I know it's a trashy movie. It's very cliche. The twists aren't even really twists, but it's just dumb fun. It's gonna age horribly. I mean, the memes they were using were already old. They were old before the movie even started being written. I don't know what possessed them to use those, but wow. It just added to the camp of it all, and I loved it. This one you put on with a group of friends or even by yourself, and you just marvel at all the goofiness. Here's a movie I don't see a lot of people talking about. It's titled Bunny, and it's a fun little indie comedy that I think is a testament to what can be accomplished when the community comes together. Some residents of an apartment complex come together to hide a body. And as you can imagine, hijinks ensues. This one got some belly laughs out of me. One of my favorite tropes in a movie is when a character is hyper fixated on something and has way too much knowledge about it. And in this movie, that subject is the David Carradine hanging. I believe I rented this one, and it's easily worth a couple dollars you'll spend on it. Next up is Mickey 17, and this one I went into with pretty low expectations because, as you may have been able to tell from my Until Dawn critique, I'm not a fan of time loop movies, but this one, it didn't get muddied by that concept, and it explored things outside of that simple concept that has been beaten to death. Old Bobby Pattinson's accent did throw me, though. It took me out of the movie a little bit, I can't lie. It was not natural. It was goofy at times. The movie is so good that I can look past that. I know I'm very gracious. A good puking scene will always get me to laugh. I don't care what movie it's in. I was kicking my feet and giggling when the puke ensued. The last 2025 movie I watched was a couple days ago, and it was actually pretty good. It was called Meat Kills. I didn't hear much about it. I saw some recommendations on Reddit. I think this movie tries to straddle the line between telling the story of activists versus the people that the activists are fighting against, and it tries to humanize and demonize them both at the same time. And I mean, it's not perfect, but it does an okay job with detailing that. If you're in the mood for just a disturbing little 80-minute movie, then I recommend this one. The kills were good. And because of the demonizing and humanizing thing, you don't really like any of the characters in the movie, and you're just kind of rooting for chaos. Now we have The Day the Earth Blew Up, which is a Looney Tunes movie, and this one had me dying multiple times throughout the runtime. A good Looney Tunes movie will always hit. They'll never go out of style. I don't care that the voices weren't perfect. They didn't take me out of it. They were recreated to a standard that was pretty good in my opinion. I know some people had gripes about that, but it was fine. This movie had some pretty creepy stills and ideas and screens. It had horror elements. It may be in the most basic way, but there was a little bit of horror in there. I was pretty happy to see Porky pull a baddie. I'm glad things worked out for him. Even though Daffy, not the best wingman in this movie in particular. The premise was very modern and I think told an interesting story, and all of that was still with the Looney Tunes fastball. They still got it. Queens of the Dead is up next, and this was one of my most anticipated movies of the year. As a huge fan of Drag Race, anytime any of the Rue girls gets involved in a movie, I'm always gonna watch it. It didn't disappoint. Nina West was great in it, Jax was great in it. There were just so many good jokes and heartfelt moments and little jabs that I loved, and it captured the drag spirit perfectly. Nina West needs more roles. She really crushed this shit. My only complaint with the movie is it just kind of ends, so I would love a sequel. I don't know if that's in the cards, but I think with a bigger budget and more time, I think they could do something great. Look, if I ever say marketing doesn't work on me, I'm a liar. Together, the marketing worked on me for that movie. I saw the billboards, I saw the trailers. I normally try and avoid trailers, but when they're fucking pre-roll ads, sometimes it gets hard. I knew I wanted to see this movie. When I saw that this was a body horror movie, I actually shit my pants to run to the theater to watch it. I I think it's an evolutionary thing to move faster. I could be wrong. I haven't really looked into it. I liked that it started with a reference to The Thing. You could tell this movie was made with love. It's a concept that I would like to see explored more. This year had a lot of those. A lot of concepts that were fresh, but maybe not explored as much as they could be. And Together is a prime example. I thought they didn't really go far enough with the body horror. The bathroom scene was what I was expecting more of. It still did a good job. I still recommend this movie. I think Together will end up being a cult classic. It's a really strong movie. The ending was a mind fuck, and I love that. I know it probably didn't appeal to everyone, but it'll stick with me for a while. This has to be the most surprising entry on the list. I loved Clown in a Cornfield. I didn't expect it to be as good as it was. And maybe it wasn't good. Maybe I just went in with such low expectations that a mid movie ended up being something I love, but I'm fine with it. I thought the kills were fun. I thought the concept was fun. And I could see this being one that I rewatch with people who maybe aren't the most into horror. Like this would be a good little gateway movie where it doesn't take itself too serious. It's good background noise, it's easy to watch. It's just a good entry point, I think. Now Nick Cage makes an appearance with The Surfer. This movie made me feel like absolute shit. It successfully gaslit me, and I think you should watch it before I say anything else. This one, Nick Cage was so pathetic. He nailed his role perfectly, and if all I'll say is if you like psychological movies, watch this. I don't want to say too much about it. Just go in with an open mind, and it might have some slow points, but stick with it. It's a special movie. This is what Bone Lake wanted to be. Bone Lake wishes it was half as sexy as Cannibal Mukbang. This was a hell of a directorial debut by Amy Coog. I think she nailed it. This movie was sexy, it was scary, it was gross, it was gory. It was everything I wanted, and this will for sure be a cult classic. So get in early, because this is another movie that I love. I could talk a lot about this, but really just go watch it for yourself. I'll just leave it at it's a disturbing movie about feminine rage, and I guess maybe there's some good for her to the movie as well. It's not exclusively good for her, but there's enough in there to get what you want if that's what you like to see. I love when movies lean into the gore and brutality in an otherwise romantic movie. Dangerous Animals feels like it's everyone's horror sleeper hit of 2025, and it's definitely one of mine. I loved this concept. Really, the premise is so unique for a slasher, using sharks as your weapon. It sounds campy, but it's done so well that it's more disturbing than camp, in my opinion. This is a movie, when I was done watching it, I knew I had to buy it physically. The casting was perfect. The setting was unsettling. The killer kind of got off the hook a few too many times for my liking. I think they could have ended it a little earlier. Caught Stealing is a movie that is this year's winner of the very prestigious honor of having the Cat of the Year in cinema. Last year's winner, as you may recall, was A Quiet Place Day One. I didn't want Caught Stealing to end. Darren Aronofsky is my favorite director by a pretty wide margin, so I wasn't surprised with how much I liked this, but I was shocked by how mid the public perception seemed to be, at least when it released. While obviously it's not his best movie, I thought it was a solid addition to his filmography. Austin Butler and Zoe Kravitz were stunning in this movie. Companion is the rare January dump that gives me hope for other January movies. I love this. I don't think the concept of AI love robots needs to be touched for a little while after this one, because I can't see it being done better anytime soon. We gotta give the ideas time to marinate, because this one nailed it. Companion isn't gonna be topped by some slapdick Blumhouse AI movie, I'll tell you that much. I was glad to see Sophie Thatcher in a role that was an edgy goth girl. I was worried she was gonna get kind of pigeonholed into that. The movie had very memorable kills and didn't take itself too seriously, so this is another one that I want to get on physical media. I loved it a lot. Now for Predator Badlands, and we're frickin' back, boys. Even though we're back in a PG-13 way, I'll take a good PG-13 over a shit R any day of the week. I did agree it felt a bit Disney-fied, but I liked the movie, so I can't complain about it. The action was still very good. Even though it was a little feel-good and cutesy, I still think some of the kills were pretty brutal. Whether they be on androids or whatever those things were or not, they were still pretty good. You know, I'd just love to see a short king dominate, and this Predator was a short king, and he kicked ass. A wholesale ass. This is the first time I can say in my lifetime that I'm hopeful for the future of Predator. We're in a very good spot with the franchise right now. One battle after another is next, and the first thing I'll say before I begin praising the movie is that the two dads, both way too old for their haircuts. We need them to get to a barber. Grooming is a battle that you can win fairly easily. I loved the revolutionary subplot. I wish that was explored a little bit more, but I get that the premise of the movie was saving your daughter. Despite how hyped up this movie was, I felt it delivered. I loved the music, I loved the direction, I loved the setting. Like I said, the revolutionary subplot was super interesting to me. I thought the political messaging was pretty important for the times as well. And what put me off from watching this sooner than I did was that it's about 3 hours long, a little shorter. But I did not feel the runtime at all. I felt it could have been longer. Zach Kreger, you beautiful bastard. I cannot wait for your Resident Evil movie, because Weapons fucking ripped. I loved this movie. Every actor, perfect. Perfectly cast. It's so open and allows your mind to concoct all these different theories and ideas about so many different characters and scenes. I loved that. I loved how it tackled addiction. I grew up watching Whitest Kids, you know, so I've seen Zach's work for a long time, and I didn't really know much about him, but since Weapons came out, I've become even more of a fan. Barbarian I liked as well. And learning more about his backstory through interviews about addiction and all that, I thought it permeated very well throughout Weapons in a tasteful way, in a thought-provoking way as well. Obviously, the gun violence angle I thought was brilliant. It could have beat us over the head with that, and I think the way it was handled was perfect. I think it was it was tastefully done, which I respect. That needle prick moment, that is one of my biggest fears. That gave me the heebie-jeebies. It made me so uncomfortable, but I loved it. The Naked Gun, I loved. If Scary Movie 6 is even a quarter as good as The Naked Gun is, parody movies might make a full comeback, because The Naked Gun was the best comedy I've seen in maybe a decade, and I'm not exaggerating. I can't think of the last comedy that is gonna stick with me like The Naked Gun has. There have been pretty solid comedies. There just hasn't been anything that has made me belly laugh over and over and over like The Naked Gun. There were really no misses that I can think of. The Spirit Halloween joke made me laugh my ass off. The intro was fucking hilarious. Nothing I can think of is a joke that made me scoff or roll my eyes. It makes me hopeful for the future of comedy, because after seeing this, I don't really need to hear any comedians say that they're not allowed to joke about anything or whatever, because The Naked Gun made me laugh 100 times without making me go like, that was in poor taste. Next up is a great entry into a cult franchise, the new Toxic Avenger. I loved it. Peter Dinklage, perfectly cast. He acted his ass off. Another short king dominating. You love to see it. I do wish the effects were practical. That was kind of the only turnoff here. The CGI kind of got meddlesome in some parts, but there was enough fun and gore in this movie that I can overlook it and say that this is a worthy entry into the Toxic Avenger franchise. I'm very grateful this did get made. I know it got stuck in development hell for a while, but I couldn't imagine telling the story of this year's movies without the Toxic Avenger. Now we have Frankenstein, a film that really finds the beauty in a bleak, desolate world. I think this might be Guillermo del Toro's best movie. This might be a bit of a hot take, but I think it does the Eggers thing better than any of the Eggers movies, but I'm not really a fan of his filmography, if I'm being honest. So I constantly see people saying that the writing of Frankenstein really was handholdy and leading us and really not trusting the viewer, but I really just think Guillermo del Toro was telling the story of Frankenstein. I don't think it was meant to be anything more or anything less. I think this is a great entry point for a classic story done beautifully, and really, I don't think there's much more to it than that. Controversial opinion alert, but I love him, and it is pretty high up on this list, as you can see. Hear me out, okay? It's a masterclass in acting by Marlon Wayans, and honestly, Tyreek Withers and professional weirdo Julia Fox, they did great too. Big fans of theirs. I know it gets a lot of heat because it's shot like a Nike commercial, but I think that adds to it. I think they showcase the cult-like gladiator spectacle bullshit of football very well, celebrating it while also conveying that a lot of people are performative in their care for the athletes. The safety concerns are pretty inauthentic regarding the players specifically, and most notably from media and the leagues themselves. I think it conveys that pretty well, and I don't think it gets enough credit for that. But I understand why it may not appeal to some people. I know people are turned off by sports movies a lot in general. If that's not your thing, it totally makes sense. But I think the way that athletes' bodies are just treated as such, just as bodies, by media and the leagues. I think it's an important story to be explored, and I think him did a good job of at least scratching the surface. It may not have went too much deeper than that, but at least it's a starting point. The movie is just a spectacle as well. I think it's a beautiful movie. A lot of very, very beautiful shots. I will say I could have went without the cheesy ass Mortal Kombat 9 X-ray shots that were sporadically put through the movie. Other than that, the ending I thought was very satisfying. I know there's an alternate, but I'm just gonna stick with the canon ending, I think. I don't want to taint my viewing experience because I enjoyed the ending. Into the top 4 we go, and let's start with The Long Walk at number 4. As a non-book reader, a noted non-book reader, still learning, I knew that this existed, but I didn't know the concept. I wasn't familiar with anything about the movie, or the story rather. This is the most cold and hopeless and disturbing movie that I saw this year by a mile. I loved the oddly wholesome camaraderie between the boys, despite them knowing what had to happen to reach their goal. It was a very interesting kind of dissection of that. It was really a tear-jerking journey to go on with the group that we did. This is another movie I'm glad didn't shy away from political statements. They're just as relevant now as when the story came out. Putting those political problems on display with the very real problems that would be terrifying to occur during this, like having the runs, it was very interesting seeing those two kind of headbutt and ultimately be some of the things that are preventing each of the boys in this journey and beyond from living fulfilling lives. Now we have Bugonia, and let me just start by saying Jesse Plemons might be my favorite actor right now, and I hate every character he's ever played. He's just so good at acting. God, I hope he never plays a good character, because he just nails it every single time. This movie scratched an itch that's so particular, and I don't know how relatable it is to anyone out there. As someone who grew up being exposed to conspiracy theories and having them preached at you as if they were true, this really scratched an itch that I didn't know I needed scratched. This movie is one of the ones where the less you know, the better, and I love this movie so much that I'm not going to talk about it more, even though I gave a spoiler warning for this stuff. I don't want to even risk spoiling it for someone. Top 2, and it was so hard to narrow this down, but deciding between 1 and 2, getting the top spot was so difficult, but ultimately I decided to put Bring Her Back at number 2. I think it's gonna be a tough challenge for the Filippo brothers to top this one, because this is a masterpiece, and making a masterpiece with your second entry in your filmography is kind of nuts, but they really fucking did it. The movie sticks with me even now, and I watched it months ago. This is a grief story done right, using new ideas and exploring it from a new angle. It's territory that I thought I'd seen treaded to the point where no grass would grow, but flowers sprouted where Bring Her Back was planted, because geez, I could talk about this movie forever. And the casting was spot on, perfectly cast. I don't think anyone could have really done anything better. I love that Ollie was paid to act like a little freak around the set. He nailed it. He has such a bright future. I can't wait to see what he grows into as an actor. Just give his weird ass an Oscar now, because watch the movie and you'll know. The last movie, it's Sinners. I watched this movie later than everyone else, and so I heard all the praise, and I was like, whatever, it's just another vampire movie. Um, it blew me out of the water. Very rarely do I want to watch a movie again as soon as I see the credits start rolling. This was that movie. I I have so much praise for this. It's one of my favorites of all time already. As soon as it was over, I ran to Letterboxd to put it in my top 4, and the only other movies that has happened with is The Thing and Black Swan, two of my all-time favorites as well. So it's in great company. Uh, I love when horror mixes with like a western feel, even ties the mob in, uh, which I love. Go watch Bone Tomahawk if you want another good horror western. I love that movie. Couldn't recommend it enough. Michael B. Jordan, there isn't enough praise for what he did in that movie. He acted his ass off. Ryan Coogler directed his ass off. This should win Best Picture, I think. He deserves it. This is an incredible piece of art, and one that I'll be revisiting for years to come. I loved the way that the racial dynamics of African Americans and Irish Americans were dissected and examined through conflict and music and everything else that takes place at the juke joint. It was expertly done. It was done so tastefully and with so much care, and you could tell research went into the topics. It was just, I could rave about this movie until I'm blue in the face, and I would still try and get words out praising it. There isn't a movie that I would recommend more this year, and this is a movie I think everyone can enjoy. That'll wrap up my ranking of every new release I watched in 2025. Like I said in the intro, it was such a good year for movies, and 2026 is looking to be pretty good too. I would love to make a video talking about everything that I'm hyped for, so maybe I'll do that. Let me know your favorites of the year, and let me know what you're excited for next year. Watch more movies, consume more art, and do all of that in 2026. I promise you won't regret it. Music, video games, all of it. Just do more, consume more, try new stuff out, because it is a special experience when you find something you love. And if you liked this style of video, consider leaving a like or a subscribe. Maybe even both. I would appreciate it. I just like rambling and talking shit. So, see you next time. Bye.